the little things we do, they're getting seeded and planted and they're living there and we don't even know it. And what if we planted things intentionally and dropped our BBs and our glitter everywhere? We
Oh,
could
great
literally
idea.
decorate the world if we just viewed little things as important.
Hi, and welcome to the 91 Day Success Podcast. I'm Jonathan, and I am thrilled today to have a friend of mine, Jeanne from Social Media Pros, with me. She is going to just amaze you with some of her practical, easy to implement knowledge to help you grow your business. And Jeanne, I just want to thank you for taking the time. I know you've got so much going on, but I really appreciate the time today to share with us on that. Can you give everybody that's watching, again, primarily business owners and business leaders, but can you give them a little introduction to yourself? You and I met a while ago, but I'd rather have you kind of share on your own. Tell me a little bit about Jeanne.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate being here. I'm honored to be here with you, Jonathan. You're
You're
one
so
of the
nice.
you're one of the smartest guys I've ever met. I am Jeanne. I'm married to Leon. I live in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. We've been here 32 years, um, and that's as long as I've ever been anywhere. But we get to travel a lot in our RV, so yeah, we have the best of everything. And I was a homeschool mom to two wonderful adults who are now my best friends. But I was doing it before it was legal, and I got arrested for it one time. And I kept on. And now those children have graduate degrees and they speak several languages. And I just want to go, nah, 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 nah. See, I did the right thing. Um, but after my children were raised, we were really poor back in those days. I remember cashing in pop bottles to buy baby food, crazy
Mm.
things like that. And I didn't have a career. I did go to college late, but I my kids were my career. And then when the kids were grown up and in college, um, I learned about business, and I thought, well, this looks fun, and it was. And so when we moved to Myrtle Beach, there was no answering service here. Not even the phone company had voicemail.
Oh,
And
wow.
my husband said to me, "This is our next business." And so I started an automated answering service 28 years ago, and it still pays me very well. And if you call anywhere in town or in the South, you're probably going to hear my voice on something. And but that got boring, Jonathan, because it runs itself. So in about 10 years ago, I said, "Oh, this local marketing thing, this is really popping up. This looks interesting." And I was in a motorcycle riding club, if you can believe that. Um, and so there was another gal who had been a Microsoft certified trainer who was in the group. She said, "Let's partner up and do a business and learn about local marketing." I said, "Okay, let's do it." And so as fast as we would learn something, we would teach it. And we started teaching it to the chambers of commerce on weekly webinars. And then you can't sell because it's a nonprofit, but you can say, "If you need any help, just call me." And then they would call you. And that was how we got our clients. And so, but it made me a generalist in everything. And that became not so much fun. Now, my partner loved it. I grew to hate it because I didn't like SEO. It was hard. I was getting older, and so I gave all the business to her. Uh, Much to my husband's horror, I gave all the business away, and I just went back to depending on my answering service until I figured out what to do. And I did figure it out finally. And I started a social media posting and management service.
Tell
And
us a
that's
little
when
bit
I
more about that.
well,
Uh,
I loved social media, and um, I saw some graphics being advertised online for chiropractors, and it was a guy teaching you how to do social posting. And I thought, I have a chiropractor. Okay, so I bought that pack of graphics, and I said, well, we'll see if this works. So I asked if I could come in for my appointment a few minutes early, like right at the lunch hour, and I had something to show him. And so I showed him the graphics, and I said, "Can I post for you on your Facebook page?" He said, "How much?" And I said, $99 a month. Just picked it out of the air. And then I figured out how to auto post with some software. And then I just set it up, pushed a button, put a watermark on all the images and pushed the button, and there it went. That was 4 years ago, and he's still my customer. And then I thought,
That's amazing.
I wonder if I could get, so let's see, who else do I have a close relationship with? I know my veterinarian because I have dogs. Okay, so I hired a team of graphic designers in the Philippines to make me some beautiful graphics, and I wrote the content. And I went to my vet and I said, "Hey, how about if I post on your Facebook page?" Okay. And so by that time, I had gotten a little bolder and I charged him more. And then I started doing that with everybody I met. I mean, just naturally, it happened. Oh, my lawn care guy, you need something on your Facebook page. Oh, but I don't know where to get it. I'll fix you right up. And then my next pack was for lawn care. And it just went on like that. And I didn't have a real master plan. It was called marketing by wandering around.
I love
Now,
it.
later on, I did get serious about finding some people using, email strategies. And but my natural go-to is, oh, we're going to the karaoke bar tonight. Fine, I'll come back with a client, because I will find people that need what I need. Oh, golly, the tire blew out on the RV and we're stuck at the discount tire in San Antonio. I know, while they're getting the work done, I'll chat up a guy out here at the picnic table, and now I have a remodeling client from San Antonio. So that's just how it went. Now I
I
know
love.
everybody can't be me, and everybody can't just talk all the time and engage with everybody they meet, but it's been a great business. I've got graphics now for 80 different kinds of businesses and for agencies. So, and it just continues to grow. I've got a whole team of people doing it now.
Well, Gene, I love your passion, and I always have loved your passion, as well as your just get it done attitude. You've always been focused on just moving ahead. And when we first met, I remember you were sharing things, and you did the same thing with us. You started by sharing things with me that were you didn't even have to. It's like, here, let me give you this, and you added value to my life, and that started building a relationship and desire to continue to work with you. And I just love that model and how you've done that. Talk to
Thank
me
you.
a little. Talk to me a little bit about probably the most common thing I hear from businesses when it comes to social media is that's great, but it doesn't make me any money. Now, my belief there is that social media is not about making you money by making sales that you tie back to a post. It's not about, hey, I'm running a $99 special on carpet cleaning and doing that. It's about positioning yourself as the expert in the
Yes.
top of mind awareness so that when my back hurts and I decide I want a chiropractor or need a new chiropractor or I need to have my house painted or whatever the case is, that I
Hmm.
think of that individual. You may or may not agree with me because we've not talked about this, but Gene, tell me
Right.
your perspective. Where does social media fit in for a business owner, and why is it that so many business owners, in your mind, think it's not worth their time?
Well, it's because they're ignorant of the truth, and it's not their fault. I don't know that anyone's told them, but you may or might not know this, Jonathan. But before I jumped into this in a big way, I did a lot of research, and I do not promise ROI like I had to do with SEO. I do not promise
Sure.
that. I promise to keep their pages and their platforms active on Twitter, Pinterest, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok. Okay.
Hmm.
Now, here's the thing. If you go to your phone and type in chiropractor near me on Facebook, it returns a 3-pack just like Google. It's a search engine.
Hmm.
Now, my next thought was, how do people get to the top of that? And I actually found some people who worked at Facebook who were I have connections. I know people who know people. And I interviewed them about this. And the deal is, if you're doing well on Google and on Facebook, it sends social signals out everywhere.
Absolutely.
One feeds the other. And so all you have to do basically in the social media world is make sure you have something going out every day. I don't care if it's funny things. I mean, it doesn't have to all be about roofing or chiropractic. I have
Absolutely.
I have packs that are called daily celebrations, and it's Hug Your Puppy Day. Well, people like that kind of stuff, and we weave those into the educational. So I call it edutainment. You want to
Yes.
educate people and you want to entertain people. And I have one pack for once a day called This Day in History, and we'll highlight something that happened globally on this day in history. It's fascinating. I've got one called 20th Century Inventions. I learned so much just doing the research for that. And so you just want to keep it active. And it isn't so much about making money, but look at the most successful agencies that you know. How many of them are ignoring social media? None.
None of them. Yeah.
No. So
No,
that's
so
that's
true.
that's what I found out.
Well, I appreciate you sharing that, and I think you're right. I think it's so many business leaders are ignorant, and it's not really their fault. Nobody has told them. I think just the opposite. So many of these gurus, if I could do air quotes, are out there telling everybody that if you do this, you're going to add thousands of dollars a month to your business, or tens of thousands, or millions to your business. While there's truth at some level to that, I don't think they explain how it works. And it's much like you and I were talking just before this call when we said it's, when you sell something to somebody for $100, a course or whatever, they often think it's going to change their life, and they're really frustrated when it doesn't. When you sell that same course to somebody for $10,000, they go, "Wow, I got a nugget out of it that's going to help me grow my business," and they're happy. It's a perception of value where that's at,
Yeah,
and I think that's
it
really where
is.
social media fits in too.
It is.
That's really interesting. Now, Jeanne, in our case, if we want to, and we'll put links in, so I know if somebody wants to hire you to help with that, we'll put those links in. But you also, I know, create courses and stuff like that. Can you
Mhm.
tell us anything about any of your courses that are either out there or that are coming up that our listeners might be interested in?
Yeah, I've got one coming out Monday, as a matter of fact. And this one has a simple name. It's called Social Agency Kit.com. Social Agency Kit. And it's one of those, it's not necessarily a course in that I'm not going to do a lot of training other than I'm going to train people the importance of each social platform. It's more of an information transfer than, like, I'm not becoming a coach. Okay.
Gotcha.
But we do train on the importance of each platform, how to set up those platforms for your business if you don't have it. And then I'm giving a whole bunch of um, beautifully made graphics along with the comments that need to post uh, in that for agencies. Now, this one is for agent. It's not for roofers and plumbers and doctors and lawyers. This is for the digital agency owner, and it comes out Monday on a platform called Warrior Plus.
Hmm.
Um, Maybe
Yep.
people have heard of that.
Very
You
familiar
know,
with it. Absolutely.
okay, all right. Yeah, I was buying a lot of stuff from Warrior Plus in the beginning, and I was on a cruise. If you would allow me just to tell you this funny
Sure.
story,
Oh, I love stories. Please,
I
Jeanne.
was I was on a cruise called the Marketers Cruise, and this is before COVID, of course. And so we got down to Curacao, and of course there was these. big old meetings at night. People would gather in this thing called Pizza and Profits, and we would do deals and get to know each other and, meet new people. And so we were in port on a long day in Curacao, and everybody wanted to do the water sports. I didn't care about the water. I live at the beach. I'd rather go to the mountains.
Sure.
And so I chose to go on a Jeep ride up into the mountains of Curacao. Well, there was one other couple that apparently thought the same thing I did. And we were sharing the Jeep. And that couple happened to be Mike Lance, who owns Warrior Plus.
Oh, wow.
It was. And so we got to know each other. And Lexi, his wife, was with him. And so as we were chatting on this 5-hour ride, in this Jeep, I said, "Hey, I bought a lot of stuff from your platform." He said, "Have you sold anything on it?" I said, "No." He said, "Do it." I said, "Well, okay. And if I need help figuring it all out," he said, "I'll help you. Here's my Facebook. Let's hook up." So I made a course on, it was my first one. I think it had to do with roofing. Yeah. It was called Roofer Roundup. Yeah, it was how I had gotten my SEO clients for roofing and what I did and all about all the things you know how to do, citations and this and that.
Sure.
That's
No,
back
it's
when I,
good. It's important stuff.
yeah, it is. And that's back when I was still doing it. So I was, fresh out of the gate with it. So I did this course called Roofer Roundup. And it sold like 3,700 copies.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, yeah. So Mike Lance gave me a message. He said, "Well, way to go. What are you doing next?" And so I did over the years, put some more stuff out there. Um, but it's not my primary income. And so it's like I care about it, but I don't.
Sure.
Other than it gets new people in my world, and on my list, and then I can really try to help them.
Well, and it puts gas in the RV too, right? I mean, that's a
Oh,
bonus.
yeah. Oh, especially these days. My gosh.
No,
The
no
last
doubt.
trip we made in the RV, I found out I lived in one of the cheapest places in the country because as we got farther away, the diesel price went higher and higher and higher. And when it got over $6 a gallon, I said, "Oh, maybe we should go home." He said, "No, it costs too much to get back now. Let's just stay a while and hope it goes down." So yeah,
Oh, I love it.
it's gravy money for me, and but mainly I appreciate the relationships that are gained
Well,
from
I was going to say,
that.
one of the things you mentioned that I really appreciate out of that, that I think so often, as again, business leaders, we miss. Sometimes we do things like what you're talking about there, not just because it generates money, and it's a bonus that it does, but it's a way of building out our lists. And the bigger list we have, the more money we can make, the more people we can serve, the better we can contribute and take care of our communities all around. And I love how you're doing something that builds a list, but also pays for doing it, as opposed to, a client I talked to the other day that said, well, I can buy this list of 12,000 email addresses and it's going to cost me, I don't remember even what the cost was, it didn't matter, but a couple $1,000s. And I said, well, that's great, but you're missing, that's not the cost you need to look at because none of those people know who you are. So you
That's
can
right.
buy that list and let's just assume it's a good list, which you and I both know is a huge assumption to make if you're buying lists because probably less than half that list is any good, if that.
I've
But
never
once I
bought
buy,
a I don't know.
yeah. Yeah, that's right. Nobody knows,
Yeah.
especially the people selling those lists. No offense to anybody that watches this that sells lists, but the reality is a lot of those lists aren't very good. And now that I've bought that list, now I need to figure out how do I tell those people who I am. And so I've got to really begin at square one
Mhm.
to do that. Versus what you're talking about, you're putting something in their hands that's not terribly expensive that already establishes you as a thought leader and as an expert. So now when they get an email in the future and it comes from Jeanne, they don't go Jeanne who or not even see it. They go, oh, this is the Jeanne that wrote the course that I bought that I love that helped me do this. And now they open your email, and now you've got an opportunity to build that long term relationship with them. And that's where the real value comes in.
Mhm. On that line of thought, this is totally sort of off topic,
That's
but
okay.
I will tell you this: the secret to getting people to open your emails is to be a storyteller.
Mm, mm.
Um, and that happens to be a ninja skill of mine. And so a lot of time, I mean, I see what other marketers do. I read their emails and it's like, oh my God, like even on LinkedIn, it's like an idiot's playground, the things the things they say, and they think that you're going to take them seriously, but uh, tell your story of origin. Look around you. I can go for a walk and come back with an idea for a twist on something. I
Hmm.
When we were traveling, I passed a field of daffodils, and it was a farm. And I researched the farm, and I found this unbelievable story about the woman who started planting daffodils 50 years ago.
Oh,
And I thought,
wow.
life is like that. It's like you better start now, and you know and look what you can have, but you'll never have it if you don't start. And so
Hmm.
just look around and see what kind of story you can tell. I found a bunch of this is crazy, but I found we moved once in this 32 years, and I found BBs everywhere in the drawers when I was packing things. I found glitter and BBs. Where do you think that came from?
I'm guessing
Grandchildren.
kids. Yeah, I was going to say,
Grandchildren.
yep.
Yeah. Okay. And so I thought about those BBs and that glitter when I was packing, and I thought, the little things we do, they're getting seeded and planted, and they're living there and we don't even know it. And what if we planted things intentionally and dropped our BBs and our glitter everywhere? We
Oh,
could
great
literally
idea.
decorate the world if we just viewed little things as important. And
Hmm.
so being a great storyteller, um, and, if you're not good at it, then find somebody who can help you, and use good grammar, use good English. Um, these things are important. They go a long way. So there we go, from daffodils to BBs and glitter, and
No, but Gene, I think it is really apropos with what we're talking about, though, because again, we're creating a podcast here for business leaders and that, and one of the questions you and I both being in the digital marketing field that we all get is, how do I better market my business? And everybody's in such a hurry to go out and talk about the latest promo, and I'm all for calls to action and hooks and
yeah,
that too. I am, but the way to do that effectively is through storytelling. It's ironic. I think I shared with you, although these episodes will appear a week apart or so on the podcast,
mhm,
we literally earlier today just got done interviewing Kevin Lee. And Kevin Lee is just an amazing video guy who
yes,
he
he
gets the
is.
storytelling stuff. And one of the things he shared was exactly what you mentioned. And he said, it's we forget that we need to tell stories because stories are what pull people in and get them to know,
Yes,
like, and trust us. And if people,
yes,
who do people buy from? People they know, like, and trust.
yes.
So no, I think that storytelling is so appropriate and really fits in exactly to what we're talking about.
There's the email of mine that got the most outrageous open rate, because your autoresponder, will tell you.
Oh
And
yeah.
I saw this these analytics, and it said I had 110% open rate. Well, I knew that wasn't possible. So I contacted Jimmy Kim, who was the owner of SendLane at the time, the one that I was
Hmm.
using. I said, Jimmy, um, did your software screw up? What? And he said, no, it went viral. So
Wow.
we're passing it around. And the title of that story, or that email, the subject line was "The Red Jeep in the Ocean." And we'd had a hurricane here, and some crazy man took his red Jeep down to the ocean to get a close up view of the hurricane. Well, the hurricane swept his Jeep. out
Oh
into the
yeah.
yeah. He got a little too close to the surf, and that all the national news was down here, and they were this jeep just floating in the ocean, just bobbing around. So I thought of a story along those lines, and my story was, be really careful what you get close to,
Oh,
or
good advice.
you get swept out to sea.
Yeah.
Be
Yeah.
very careful how close you get to things that are powerful, and a hurricane's powerful. So I wrote that story, and then I encouraged them to get close to me because I'm safe.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
here's what I'm selling. So anyway, that open rate went this thing went viral, but it was a story.
I love it, and I gotta say, in all my years, Gene, I have never heard of an open rate over 100%. So
I could
that
I
in and
can
itself is just a great story, and what a
I can
great
show it
hook.
to you. I think I
Oh,
took a screenshot of it because I didn't believe it.
I don't doubt you one bit. I've known you long enough to know that you've got great stories, but you've also got the facts to back them up. So I don't doubt it. It's again, what a great hook. I mean, who hasn't sent an email campaign out that thinks 110%? How do I do that? That's fantastic.
Tell a good
So
story. Yeah.
good. Well,
Geez,
on that.
I didn't mean to be talking about stories here, but
That's okay. It's all right. This is one of the things we love to do is chat and share ideas. I hear regularly from people that watch the podcast that two things they like. One is they often hear the same thing regularly from different guests on the podcast, and I know
yeah,
one of those is about storytelling. But the other is that they just it's nice to see people real and who they are, and get kind of that back behind the scenes. Gene's a real human being. Kevin was a real human being. Everybody we talk to, we get up in the morning, we put our pants on the same way. We have our issues. We spill our coffee occasionally, and that's just who we are.
yeah.
And I think that is what our viewers love to see. So no, I appreciate the storytelling and where you're headed with all this.
I would like
Gene,
to
I told
say,
you. Go
Jonathan,
ahead.
real quickly, I'm going to be
Oh, take your
72.
time.
I'm going to be 72 years old really soon, and it's pretty much always been this way with me, but especially now. It's not about the money. It's about building a legacy business. It's
Mm,
about building a business that I can pass on to people or sell, but it's a business that honors God and leaves a legacy for my grandchildren and my friends. And that's what I want more than anything. And when I saw your generosity lunch thing, I just went haywire
well,
because
thank you.
that's the legacy that I want out of everything that I do. I want to be remembered as someone who cared enough to tell the truth, um, cared enough to be a little different.
Yep.
And yeah, I like money, and it's okay. It's okay to,
Absolutely. You
but
bet.
I'm supporting ministries on 4 continents right now.
Hmm.
I can't take it all with me,
Well, and I
so
think that's one of the things that God challenges us to do as business leaders is to,
yeah,
somebody's got to fund this. I just had a
that's right.
conversation actually with one of my pastors at church the other day about this exact concept, and I said somebody's got to fund these things that need to get done, and while a lot of us volunteer time, and that's great. Sometimes it's by giving back, and
It is.
sometimes it's ministry, sometimes it's just community related, like our generosity lunch has nothing to do with any politics or religion or anything else in that case, and it's just what we love to make people's day, and it has been
Yeah,
just amazing for us to watch how $1,000 to $1,500, sometimes as much as $2,000, can change a waiter or waitress's life for
yes,
that week or that month. And I've been, just a quick plug for that. It has amazed me because I never envisioned this. How many times that we end up giving a tip like that to everybody. And if you're interested in generosity lunch, I'll leave some details. But we leave that tip, and then we hear from them about the fact, as last month we heard, she had a rent payment due, and she didn't know
mhm,
how it was going to happen. We had lunch on Wednesday. Rent was due on Friday.
Mm.
The tip covered rent and more. And all of a sudden that problem went away. And that's just, it's a great to give back to your community in ways like that. And it's one of the things I've always loved about you, Jeanne, is you see both sides of it. Yeah, it's great to make money, it's great to have some toys, that's fine, but it's about a lot more than just seeing how much can be accumulated. It's
Yep.
also about having fun and being more generous than you could ever imagine.
I
So
told one of my teenage grandsons, he was here not too long ago for a week or so, and he said, Mima, show me what you do. I said, okay. And I took him, sat him here in my office, and I wrote an email and I wrote a story about him. I included him. He said, so is this what you do? I said, well, let's check back tomorrow. And I was selling something.
sure.
And so I came back the next day and I showed him my PayPal. He said, you're printing money.
I love it. I
Can you
love
show
it.
me how to print money? And I said, Jonathan, you have to live your life in such a way that you have good stories to tell, and then you can print money.
Mm,
He
so
said, okay,
true.
I'll work on that.
Mm.
Yeah.
Well, Gene, before we go, one of the questions I've been asking on the 91 Day podcast, and the reason we call it 91 Days is that we ask everybody, if you had to start over and we gave you $1,000 in cash and said, Gene, what are you going to do in the first 3 months or 91 days to build a business that's making 10 grand a month or more? What would you do? Where would you start? So, G, let me ask you, if you had to start over and you had a debit card with $1,000 on it, you had your house, you had a vehicle, you had food, you didn't need to worry about your sustainability, but you did have to figure out, how am I going to build a business in 91 days? What would you do in those first 3 months?
I would do the same thing I did in 2018 because I did that.
Mm,
I gave all the other business away. I had what I needed,
yep.
and I would start looking for something that is a microservice that can be automated. And that's what I did.
Mm-hmm.
And it was my social posting business. And I had a goal. I live by spread. I may seem like a dingaling, and I can be, but I've learned how to use a spreadsheet.
Mm-hmm.
And I live my life by my little magic spreadsheet. And it has about 10 different pages on it. And I got projections and receivables and payables and blah, blah, blah. But there it is. So I made a page on my spreadsheet and said, what do I need to do to get six figures
Yep.
a, a year, which is 83.33 a month. I broke it down and I got that many customers, and I had my six figures a year in less than 90 days.
Wow. That's
I,
amazing.
I did.
That's
Because
absolutely
if
amazing.
you add it up, you don't have any expenses other than paying somebody else or paying my company to do the posting for you.
Sure.
Um, and that's so inexpensive. Josh Nelson told me I was crazy, but yeah, I said I don't need a lot from this. There's no work involved. Once you push the button, there it goes. Um, so I would do that all over again. And even if I had an agency that was more fun and robust and smart people like you know, do it. Even if I had that, I would add this to it because it'd
Makes
be another.
sense.
Yeah, being
No,
now this is all I want to do. This is all I want to do because
no,
I'm
I
getting
think
old. Yeah,
I think it's great, and it really reminds me a lot. I had a you and I both know Billy Sticker from Cairo Candy over in Texas, and
he's one of
I
my
had a
clients.
conversation with Billy not too long ago. And one of the things
Yeah.
that Billy says regularly that I appreciate so much is, if you want to build a business, you just need to find a problem and find people willing to pay to solve that problem. And if you want to build a really successful, profitable business, find a problem that rich people are willing to pay you to fix, because that typically means businesses. And
Mm.
I love what your twist on that, which is find a micro problem that businesses are willing to pay for, because now at the rates that you're charging, it's an even if the economy slows down as people are predicting and we have a bad month or whatever the case is, they're not going to drop your service because it's
I
such a
never,
small part
I
of their overall
never,
expenditure.
never lost a client during COVID.
And that's that, what a
Zero.
testament, because again, you're really proofing your future proofing, I don't know what are the financial proofing, recession
That's a
proofing
good one.
your business, because you're not trying to take this huge chunk. You're just trying to get a little slice,
Hmm.
provides a lot of value in that little
Yeah.
slice. And
Hmm.
then I love what you just said. You automate it. So you can, through economies of scale, provide something to that business that might take them hours or even tens of hours or dozens of
Yeah.
hours a month, but you can figure out how to do it in minutes. And yet it
Hmm.
has hours of value to the business. So if you cut the difference and split the difference, everybody wins.
Hmm.
And you've built a great business, and that business that you're serving can now go on to do what they're good at. I love it.
You know, thank you. You know, Billy that you just mentioned, he is one of my clients.
Yes, you said that. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and also Billy wrote a book about faith and entrepreneurship.
Oh, I'm glad you mentioned that.
You got it?
That one
Let me
right
see.
there. If I get in front of the camera.
That's it. The Blessed Entrepreneur. That's Billy.
Fantastic book too.
Yes. Yes. And I met him. Let me brag on Billy for a minute. I met him at that Japanese restaurant there in Miami that we
Oh,
go
okay.
to.
Yep. The
And
hibachi. Yeah.
yeah, and so Leon and I walked in late. I'm always late. And there were no places to sit with anybody. So we sat at a table by ourselves, which is okay. Leon's good company.
That's
Billy
good to
Sticker
hear.
saw it and he said, no, no, no. Nobody is coming in here and eating alone. And he got up, came over, introduced himself, and he said, we're going to scoot in a little closer at our table and you're come over here to sit with us.
That sounds like Billy. He's
Yep.
such a genuine guy.
And Nate was at that table
Hmm. That's
and a few
awesome.
more. I mean, it was just like a little bit of heaven had just come to dinner.
That is so cool.
Yeah,
Well, and
it
for
was.
some of you that are watching the podcast that are wondering, how did Jeanne and I know some of these people? Jeanne and I are blessed enough to be part of a group of digital marketing agencies. And I say this not because I'm part of it, but truly some
No.
of the brightest and most
Yes.
incredible minds in the world when it comes to digital marketing. And it's called the Seven Figure Agency. It's run by Josh Nelson. If you're an agency and you're not part of it, you got to join it, seriously.
And you can get
But
an invitation from us. We can take you for free the first time.
oh yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. But the key is, if you're in any industry, join some industry groups like that and
Yes.
meet the leaders in your industry, because they will teach you so much.
Mhm.
Especially if you find a group like we're involved in that is totally abundance mindset. Nobody in the group is worried about, Billy's a great example. He does chiropractic marketing. You could
Mhm.
do chiropractic marketing and he'd still sit down at dinner with you and tell you all the things he's doing that are working, because
Yes.
he's not worried about that. Josh Nelson, who runs it, is in the HVAC world, and yet he's trained at least a dozen that I can think of other agencies in that exact same niche how to do exactly what he does.
Yes, he
And
has.
he mentioned to me the other day, actually, it might have been to the group, but I heard him say, and my numbers are off, but there's roughly 12,000 plumbing and HVAC companies in the United States. In order to be wildly successful, each agency that serves them as a digital marketing needs maybe two or 300 of them. So if there's 10 of them, that's not even a third of all of the plumbers in the United States. So there's
Mhm.
ample room to share and
Yeah.
have that abundance mindset. And I want to encourage you guys, this isn't about promoting that agency per se, but if you, no matter what industry you're in, find a group like that. Find one that's abundance minded and do whatever you need to do to get involved, because you will get so much value from that. It's how Jeanne and I met. It's how we met Billy. It's how we've met so many other people that we've not only got to know, but have become friends with and have been mentors that have helped us grow our business. So enough on the soapbox, but Gina, you're absolutely
Yeah,
right. Thank you for bringing that up. I appreciate that.
yeah.
Uh,
And
Well,
it's just there are no words to describe that group.
it's true.
It,
It's really true.
it's
I've
unlike.
never ran into one like that in my life.
No, I haven't either.
Yeah, no, it's an amazing thing, and definitely worth searching out, no matter what type of industry you're in. Well, Gene, again, I want to thank you today. We've went all over the map. It's been fun. I
Yeah, it
love
has.
chatting with you, and I know as we've done in the past, we could do that a lot longer. But I know
Yeah.
you've got a lot to do, as do I. I just want to
Um,
thank you for your time so
you are
much.
you are so welcome. And may I give my website?
Absolutely, no. In fact, we're going to put a link down below for that. And
Okay.
but go ahead and tell everybody what it is if
It's
they're watching.
agencysocialpros.com.
And if you
That's
own
right.
an agency of any sort, go check Jeanne out. Go to that website, buy her products, listen to what she's got to say. Jeanne has been so generous to share that knowledge with us, and Jeanne doesn't price her stuff very expensively.
No.
I'm with Josh. She should raise her prices, but Jeanne's done so well by just sharing her expertise, and yeah, check it out. It's well worth the visit. I guarantee it. I guarantee it.
Thank you. Thank
No,
you.
absolutely. Well, Gina, again, just thank you very much for your time. Have a very Merry Christmas. This episode probably won't come out till after Christmas, but that's all right. They can still know that, I'm not scared to say Merry Christmas, and I know you're not either. So have a very Merry
Not
Christmas and a blessed New Year.
amen to that. You too.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Gene.